Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. This is a good old Amazon unboxing. It feels like a DVD. I have no memory of going on to Amazon and buying anything except for the Chris Jericho book, so I'm not really knowing what is going to be in here. Oh, yeah, I am. This is going to be the good old KLIQ DVD that just came out. Oh, fuck, I thought I bought something on my weekend in a drunken stupor. But let's see what we got going on in here. Oh, yeah. KLIQ Rules 2-disc Blu-ray set. Just got this in. I'm really excited to have this. Let's take a closer look. Hold on one sec. All right, here we are, everybody, with the KLIQ Rules. Right here, we got Kevin Nash, we got the 1-2-3 Kid, we got Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Razor Ramon. Very cool cover here on the Blu-ray. I like the way it's sort of like in that cartoonish sketch, almost like somebody drew him out with a cartoon pencil. The KLIQ is definitely one of the the best groups of people that have ever been put together, and they were never really officially a stable. They just were friends inside the wrestling business, and as you would know, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall would leave for WCW, leaving behind Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and of course, because of being, I guess you can say he got, I don't know if he got fired from WWF and went to WCW, or his contract ran out, and I don't know how he got there. But one way or another, he was a big part of the NWO, as well as being a big part of DX. Definitely without Sean Waltman jumping ship after being fired from WCW to WWE. Triple H coming out the night after WrestleMania and kicking back up DX, basically saying that Shawn Michaels had dropped them all, wasn't able to carry the mustard, and X-Pac was able to get on the mic and say that you suck, pal. That's what he says. There you go. That was the speech after coming in. But definitely, without these guys, the wrestling business never would have changed, and it never would have been what it is today. So you got to really appreciate these guys. I know that they're really hated. Some people don't really like things that certain people do. I think that Triple H was one of the most hated people in the wrestling business, but I think now with him sort of changing the way WWE is, as well as having NXT as a real popular brand right now, I think he really is looked at as one of the biggest baby faces in wrestling, and sort of looked at as a guy that might be a savior for WWE somewhere down the road. Once Vince hangs it up, maybe people are starting to believe in the beliefs about where he goes. But very excited to see this. I've been watching the specials that they've been putting up on the WWE Network. They put up a first look with a 30-minute sort of interview, and then they put up a behind the curtain at Scott Hall's Hall of Fame. And then tonight, of course, is going to be I think it's Kevin Nash behind the scenes at his Hall of Fame, WrestleMania 31. Last night they had the KLIQ best matches and moments. That was a real fun hour and a half to spend. But on the Blu-ray, on KLIQ Rules Disc 1, you get Diesel, you get 1-2-3 Kid, as well as Shawn Michaels. On Disc 2, you get Razor Ramon and Triple H. Plenty of great intercontinental title matches between the two of those guys. Take this disc out. Get the KLIQ signal. There it is, baby. Oh, a little bit too far out. Yeah, there we go. And a little bit of my remote control for you as well. But it looks like we're going to start out with Razor Ramon versus a Kid for Monday Night Raw of 1993. They came back the next week and they did it again. I think this is the $10,000 challenge match where Razor puts up his own money against the Kid in the rematch. And I think Kid doesn't win that match, but he grabs the money and runs out. So I guess Razor gets the win via countout. Then we go to another match from 93, Razor versus Diesel on Monday Night Raw. Shawn Michaels versus the 1-2-3 Kid, another Monday Night Raw match. That's a lot of matches from 1993. So those matches might be on that Monday Night Raw set that's getting a few years old. Probably came out around 2010. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the best of the first 2 years. But we'll see. From there we go to Monday Night Raw, Razor and the 1-2-3 Kid versus the Quebecers in a tag team championship match. Then we go to Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in the ladder match from WrestleMania 10. Intercontinental Championship match from Superstars of 94. This is the match that I have heard more about than anything else. I've heard people, to quote them, say this match is worth the price of getting the DVD or the Blu-ray alone. Action Zone from 1994, Shawn and Diesel versus Razor Ramon and 1-2-3 Kid in a tag match. The only thing you're missing is Triple H. And you'd have it all the members of the KLIQ there. Maybe he was special guest referee or something. But from there we go to the Survivor Series, traditional 5-on-5 elimination match. The bad guys versus the Steamers. I don't know what that word is. I apologize. Razor Ramon versus Triple H. Monday Night Raw. The Crybaby match, Razor versus 1-2-3 Kid. I've never felt so bad for the 1-2-3 Kid than after that match. You honestly feel bad for him, even though he's the heel. But when he gets embarrassed by Razor Ramon, man, it sucks. I would have quit right there if I was him. There we go to the No Holds Barred, Shawn Michaels versus Diesel. Good Friends, Better Enemies of 96. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H on Monday Night Raw. MSG Curtain Call, which should be very, very good. I heard they even interviewed the guy that shot that. Hopefully you got a good chunk of change out of that. The Outsiders versus the Steiner Brothers from Nitro. Kevin Nash versus Scott Hall, Halloween Havoc of 1998. I will tell you right now, I don't remember this match. I haven't seen it in a long time. I probably haven't seen this match since 1998, but I think that's a very bad match. Triple H versus X-Pac, Backlash of 99. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and X-Pac versus Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Kane on SmackDown. Good, I was hoping that wasn't the match where Kevin Nash tore his quad. From there we go to Judgment Day 2003, Kevin Nash versus Triple H. Wasn't that a Hell in the Cell match? No, I can't remember what show that was, but they did a Hell in the Cell as well. DX versus Jericho from TLC of 2009. Blu-ray exclusives, Scott Hall and Six versus Harlem Heat. Kevin Nash versus The Rock on SmackDown 2002. Triple H versus Kevin Nash, Sledgehammer match from TLC 2011. Great match right there. Triple H versus Sting, WrestleMania 31. That was, of course, this year, so that's a great one to have. And then we'll flip over to the back. KLIQ Rules, great picture of all of them there, all put together. It's probably photoshopped, I'm pretty sure. But then it says the band is back together. Join Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Triple H as they reunite the KLIQ, the most notorious backstage group in sports entertainment. The Curtain Call, the KLIQ, Monday Night War, dun, 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 dun. Right there for you. That's the special Triple H. No, I think it was Shawn Michaels who took that. I can't remember who posted it, but the infamous selfie of the KLIQ going into the Hall of Fame right there for you. They say the best matches are Shawn versus Razor. WrestleMania 10 ladder match. Sure, that's on a bunch of DVDs already. Shawn versus Diesel, Good Friends, Better Enemies. Sure, that's on one of the Shawn DVDs. Triple H versus X-Pac. What did they say that was from? Backlash of 99. So right there. This is going to be a fun one. Peace out, everybody. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stephen Breach coming to you here with a review of the KLIQ Rules. Here, I just watched the Blu-ray here, anticipating UFC 190 tonight. Honestly, I was going to put off making this review, but honestly, the undercard to UFC 190 tonight is basically putting me a little bit to sleep. So, I thought I would just talk about the DVD documentary right now. I think as of right now, everybody's known that on the WWE Network, in order to push sales of the KLIQ Rules to get you to go out and buy the Blu-ray or the DVD set, WWE Network has put up some really kick-ass cool specials. Monday night after Monday Night Raw, they gave you a first look where they basically played the the first 30 minutes of a documentary in like a little bit of a clip fashion. They didn't show you the whole thing, but that was really cool to see. That was like you need to get out and make sure you order this. After watching the first look is when I really got anticipated about getting the KLIQ Rules thing. On Tuesday night, you came home. There was a special called the KLIQ Behind the Curtain, where they talked about the wrestling business. It was the first time all 5 guys were in the same room at the same time. Basically, they were sitting down before Scott Hall's induction into the WWE Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 30. That was really fun. Then Wednesday night was an hour-and-a-half special of the best matches and moments of the KLIQ. Those were selected off of the Blu-ray as well. And then Thursday night after SmackDown was Kevin Nash, Too Sweet, a 30-minute documentary on the life and the career of Kevin Nash, Diesel. After watching all of those specials and then sitting down and watching the documentary, honestly, I feel like I already watched the documentary before getting the Blu-ray and putting it in today. A lot of the stuff was repeated. I know that when I watched my buddy Jim Nye's review yesterday, Jim Nye 888, he gave this review a thumbs down. He basically said that it just wasn't for him. He didn't think it was all that good. I want to say that I think the documentary was really, really good. But if you're not a DVD collector, if you're not a real documentary guy, I'm telling you that you can satisfy your needs by sitting down and watching the network with your $9.99 subscription and watching the 4 shows that I talked about. You will have seen enough that once the WWE finally uploads the KLIQ Rules documentary to the Beyond the Ring section, whether it's a few months, it seems like the Paul Heyman and the Macho Man releases seems like it was about 4 to 5 months before they were put up on the network. But when documentaries come out like this, when Blu-ray DVD sets come out, I want to have them. I want to have them right away. I would have had this on DVD Tuesday if it would have been for my transmission still working in my truck. I was supposed to get my truck back today. But the transmission didn't come in time, so they told me that it'll be there on Monday, because they don't work on Sundays. Son of a bitch. But the Beyond, I'm sorry, the KLIQ Rules. I don't know why I was calling it the Beyond the Ring. But the documentary is set up into only a few chapters: Friends for Life, Forming a Bond, Strength in Numbers, the KLIQ Only, the Curtain Call, Divide and Conquer, Excess Language, and Resurgence. Basically, they talk about how they came together and became friends. Scott Hall says that he met Shawn Michaels in 1985, and I don't know where they got this video footage from, but it's basically Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels walking up to each other and shaking hands in the middle of the street in 1985. They talk about how Scott Hall back then basically looked like a jacked up Magnum PI, and they showed him, and I had never thought about him as being looking like Magnum PI, but once they put him on the screen with that permy hair and the mustache, back in the day, Scott Hall used to wrestle as sort of like a cowboy gimmick almost, and that's why it's so funny that he basically took over the Scarface gimmick. I'm sure a lot of people didn't even really know that those two guys were the same guy when Razor Ramon debuted in WWF. But basically, that's when Shawn and Scott became friends, and they ended up in the WWF together at the same time. And through that, basically, you know, Shawn Michaels was doing a gimmick where he was a really good wrestler, but he would always have a bodyguard on the outside. I believe at this point, Sid was no longer... I can't remember. I think Sid came before Diesel, but then I could be a little bit off. I'm not 100% sure. Now that I'm talking about it, I think Diesel was first, and then they brought in Sid to replace Diesel when Diesel and Shawn split and went their own separate ways. That might be the way it went down, because then Sid turns on Shawn after the WrestleMania, and that makes a whole lot more sense. So I apologize. I think I was wrong. Maybe Diesel came after Sherry. I'm a little bit weary on that, but basically how that became was Shawn Michaels was watching WCW Saturday Night, and there was a character on there called Vinny Vegas, who was Kevin Nash, who was sort of like a Vegas prankster, you know, sort of a wise guy, maybe not Vegas, maybe more like, he had a little bit of Atlantic City in him, because he had like a New Jersey accent to him as well, and Kevin Nash liked him. I'm sorry, Shawn Michaels liked Kevin Nash. He didn't know him personally, but he thought that he had a big body. He thought that the persona that he came off on TV was pretty cool, and thought he would be a good guy. He went to Vince and said, "This is the guy that we should get," even though he was under contract at WCW. Shawn Michaels says that a week later, he was walking him out to the ring on Monday Night Raw, making his debut. From there, the 1-2-3 Kid would come in and he would work a program with Razor Ramon, where Razor Ramon would put him over, and that's how the 1-2-3 Kid became a star in the WWF, getting the win. It would also be what would turn Razor Ramon babyface. But they worked a program for a good amount of time, and because of that, they sort of took him into the clique, because Michaels, Razor Ramon, and Diesel, they sort of wanted a new guy in there, and they sort of wanted to give back and bring a youngster in to teach fresh blood, how the wrestling business works and how they go from there. Then, watching WCW Saturday nights when they're out there on the road, they would fall in love with a guy named Terror Rising. Terror Rising on his own would come into WWF, and it wasn't right away, but soon there was a time when the KLIQ and Triple H were at the airport at the same time. The KLIQ already had a van, so they asked Triple H to come along. Triple H fit in, talking the wrestling business with these guys, and they just became friends. As the way they say it, with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman. Basically, when they found out that Triple H didn't drink, they just go, "Bing! We got us a designated driver." So, that's how they became friends. And from there, if you look at the guys that are involved in this group, these are the guys that were having the best matches and the biggest angles that were in WWF at the time, minus Undertaker and Bret Hart. And they had a lot of pull in the WWF, not even the locker room, but more of like the Vince's office, I guess you can say. Shawn and Diesel were guys that had been WWF champion. Razor Ramon was a many-time IC champion. Sean Waltman was a workhorse that it didn't matter if you put him in there against another small guy or another big guy. He was going to be able to have a match that fit what they needed, whether if it was him getting pummeled or him having an upset sort of come from behind victory. Triple H was another guy in the Intercontinental Chase, just putting on great matches against Mark Marrow, Razor Ramon, all the guys that they would put him in there. Triple H was knocking out of the park, having great matches with them. So, basically, what it all came down to is that basically they had their group, and there was other groups inside of the locker room, whether if it's the Undertaker's group with him, Rikishi, Godfather, the BSK, Bone Street Crew, where basically they were guys that played dominoes together, or the Hart Foundation, and a whole lot of cliques throughout the whole locker room, a lot like how it would become with Gang Wars in WWF around 1997. Just that's the way it was. These guys were friends in real life, so they were pretty much portrayed that way in the locker room, that they split each other up, and guys would intermingle, but for the main part, everybody would sort of stay together in their own group, because a lot of groups didn't like each other and they rubbed each other the wrong way, and everybody was looking to get ahead. That's basically what the wrestling business was. But when it came down to the KLIQ, what the KLIQ was is a group that stayed together. It didn't matter if one guy was getting over, the other guys were going to congratulate him, and knowing that their time was coming sooner than later. I know that if you look at the WrestleMania 11 match, Diesel versus Shawn Michaels, that night, Shawn Michaels takes one of the worst jackknife power bombs at all time. Some people basically think that it was Shawn, turning on Kevin Nash, Diesel. I've heard Kevin Nash talk about this in shoot interviews before, saying that basically maybe he did, just the way it looked. But it was Shawn's idea for him to take it again, so that way they could edit it and make it look better for VHS and other ways of showing it on down the road. As of right now, the group stands at 5 members. 3 of the members have been added into the Hall of Fame. Triple H is a guy that honestly might not ever get a chance to go into the Hall of Fame because of where he stands inside of the company. I think that's pretty good for a group of guys. One of the highlights of the group is that basically during one of the peaks in the wrestling business, two guys were in WCW, being the Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and then the other guys were in WWE, as in DX. And I remember that was always sort of the hope that someday, we would see, DX against NWO. It's the same way that everybody always had dream matches, that the two companies coming together one night and being able to put on one show, like a super show, whether if it's Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan, whether if it's Sting versus Undertaker, you're always going to have these dream matches that you can put together of guys with gimmicks or like styles, and just have dream matches along the way. I guess you can say it never came to be, but I guess it did sort of happen at WrestleMania 31. But the guys were so old. It didn't really matter, but when they showed these guys at the Hall of Fames at WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 31, WrestleMania 27, they seem like they're the old guys still trying to hang out in the school cafeteria, still trying to act cool. But the thing is that the people that are in those, I guess you can say the catering. Would be guys growing up watching these guys that give these guys all the respect in the world, because basically they wouldn't be there. The KLIQ got WWF through some of the darkest days they had ever been in, and basically I think that honestly it was the KLIQ that really dug WWF out of the hole that they were in. Vince and the supporting characters that were around him, whether if it was Jim Cornette or whether if it was Brother Love, they just had their feet stuck in the mud, and they weren't willing to get rid of the gimmicks, like Doink the Clown, as they put it, the firemen and the policemen and all the hokey gimmicks that were, sinking them, making people, embarrassed to watch pro wrestling and want to change the channel. It was the KLIQ sitting Vince down and basically saying, moving forward from here, we need things that are real, like DX, like the NWO. So I respect the hell out of these guys. I think that honestly this is a very good documentary. You don't need to spend the money to see it. Wait and see this on the WWE Network, or watch the network selections that I talked about, and you'll feel like you watched this. Very, very good stuff, though. I wish I would have Kevin Nash Too Sweet. I wish I would have some way of getting that on DVD Blu-ray with some Kevin Nash matches, but maybe they'll make a bigger one somewhere down the line, expanding on what they've done, but we'll have to see. But KLIQ Rules, great set of matches on here. Maybe you buy it just for that, but if not, just watch the network stuff, like I said. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you. I hope everybody, after WWE Monday Night Raw, went over to WWE Network and watched the preview for the KLIQ Rules DVD/Blu-ray, which will be getting released tomorrow. I had planned on going to Best Buy to pick this up. Normally, I order my WWE DVDs and Blu-rays through Amazon Prime for the free shipping and getting them on the day they released, but they didn't have a good price on the 2-disc Blu-ray. I believe they had it at $27.99. Best Buy was going to beat them for $22.99, so I had sort of planned out that I was going to drive to Best Buy after going to the gym before work tomorrow and pick that up, but I'm not looking to really cry and get any tears over here, but on the way to the gym today, my truck broke down and it's in the shop. I will not be getting it back in time, so this is the DVD that maybe I should have just ponied up and paid the $5 and got it shipped in and received it. After watching the special, which was the 30-minute commercial, the first look on WWE Network, this looks like a really badass, really good, really well put together DVD documentary. Plus, with the picking it up on Blu-ray, I believe it's going to have about 20 matches on there, I believe, from looking at the WWE, or it's not even WWE DVD News anymore. It's Wrestling DVD Network. They just reestablished their new name. They're always going to be WWE DVD News to me, but you can go on over there and check out the list of what they have going down. But from watching the 30-minute commercial here, it was like pretty much like they were showing you the documentary, which I'm sure once I actually get the documentary and I start watching it, it'll actually be like it's cut up into spots, so it's not like you're actually getting to watch it. But I really wasn't that excited about the Monday Night War, the last set that just recently came out, until I watched the preview, which was just a sit-down interview that they filmed with Sting and Triple H separately, talking about the Monday Night Wars episodes, without it being one of the ones that they showed in between on the DVD and the Blu-ray. I didn't think I needed to have that because of the fact of you can already watch the episodes on the network, so you don't really need to go out and buy them again. But you have to get it in order to get the Triple H and Sting stuff. So I'm looking for a good deal on that, and as soon as I can find one, I'll pick that up just to watch those things. And I'm sure if I'm watching those, I'll end up watching the episodes once again. But about the KLIQ Rules, of course, the KLIQ would be Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Triple H, X-Pac. And these guys were together, and I mean they are getting over the fact of before there was DX, before there was the NWO. These guys were together, and they were a big part of that weird era of the WWF, where Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart were becoming the main event guys. Hulk Hogan had left. He was not in the picture, and Vince was really starting to struggle. It wasn't like WCW was blowing anything away, but wrestling in those 90s years was really falling off the map. They were losing their Main Street appeal. They were losing being a big part of pop culture. Wrestling had just really gotten stale, and it didn't really matter what you put there. Of course, everybody talks about Diesel, Kevin Nash's run as WWF champion, being one of the worst strong champions of all time. And basically, it took these group of guys to really sort of repackage WWF and wrestling as whole to making it cool once again. If you think about the boom period which WCW and the NWO launched with Vince having to repackage everything and get it into the Attitude Era, which was led by Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and The Undertaker. If these guys wouldn't have gotten in the ear of Vince McMahon back in the day, who knows what wrestling would even be. I mean, there's been stories about how Vince was, really having to borrow and really having to make a lot of deals in order just to keep in business and what was going on. Of course, WCW had Turner's money at this time, so even though they were even lower than what WWF was doing with Vince McMahon at the time, Vince was really getting down to the point where we were wondering if there was even going to be another day for WWF. But the KLIQ are guys that really changed the business by being going into the office as a pact, having strength in numbers, the way that Lex Luger put it. That basically they were going in there knowing that because they had the guys that were at the top of the card, they had the guys that were having the best matches of the night, they were going to be able to get what they wanted from Vince, because you didn't want to make these guys mad where they would leave. You can look at this group, Triple H. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I can't remember how many titles he's held over his career. I think it's 14. Kevin Nash just went into the Hall of Fame last year, a champion for WWF, for WCW, a big-time legend. Scott Hall went into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 30. X-Pac's a guy that more than likely is not going to go into the Hall of Fame. Shawn Michaels, even though he had the long break in his wrestling career, is looked at as one of the best wrestlers there's ever been. There's many people who put Shawn as one of the greatest wrestlers that anybody's ever seen. Definitely, he's up there on my list. Him and Kurt Angle, Bret Hart, guys that when you look back and you want to watch great technical wrestling matches, Shawn's a guy that you're going to want to do that with. But definitely when you think about the KLIQ, you think about the wars that these guys had. They bring up the fact that the backstage faction, which was the BSK, Rikishi, Undertaker, Godfather, aka Kama at the time, You had one of the Godwins was in there. Undertaker was one of the big guys. Also Yokozuna. These guys would sit in the back and they'd play dominoes. And these are some of the guys that basically were against what the Kliq was going against. And plus you had other guys like Lex Luger, Davey Boy Smith, Bam Bam Bigelow, very outspoken over the past years in shoot interviews and things like that about how they think the Kliq really hurt what they were doing. I think that Sean put it best when this thing starts. Basically it's 20 years later. Why are we still sitting here? Why are we still talking about the Kliq? And basically Sean is like, because when you look back at it, we raised our voices and we were very outspoken about what was going on in WWF at the time. But when you look back at what we were talking about, we were right. And a lot of people don't give us credit for that. And definitely, they talk about when there was a house show, and a lot of people talk about this as the night the Kliq went on strike, where basically, if you know anything about the backstage business at house shows, your big time leaders, Vince McMahon and Triple H today, they don't go to house shows. They're ran by the agents, and most of the time they really don't have any problems because as shows are planned, they're booked well in ahead. Nobody has a problem with what the finish is going to be because the finish has been told to them by, they know it passes on down the line. But basically, they had a drawing point where they basically said, what was going on in the show sucked. Nobody would want to come see it. The whole, federation as a whole, the whole, territory was the shits. So basically, Jerry Briscoe and Vince McMahon had to jump on a flight. They had to fly to this house show. They had to sit down in the conference room, and basically they drew up what they thought the territory should be. They had a list of guys, what's cool, what's bad, who needs to be repackaged, who just needs to be fired. And, Vince had to go along with what they were saying because I think a good part of them felt that, this was true. These guys, if you look at Kevin Nash, honestly, in my mind, Kevin Nash is one of the coolest wrestlers there's ever been. When he went to WCW, he was very well spoken about what he thought the NWO shirt should have been. And he made a lot of decisions for the NWO to make them stay cool. If you think about, how wrestling shirts were back in the day, most of the time they had a big old picture of the wrestler that, fans would not want to wear outside of the wrestling event. Maybe you go to the show and your favorite wrestler is Shawn Michaels, so you end up buying this picture with a shirt and it's got a big old picture of Shawn on it. But are you gonna wear that, out on the street walking around town? You want a logo, and basically he told Bischoff to make the logo just look at very guerrilla, very street. Just make it look like you drew it with a can of spray paint real fast. The box NWO done. If you think about when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO as the third man, they sat down to have the promos, and Hulk Hogan went on an old 80s style wrestling promo, and it was Kevin Nash that pulled Bischoff aside and he said, "This ain't cool. This ain't gonna fly. It needs to be, just take whatever he says and cut it up to where it's very small sentences about, we run the rule, we won the world." Things like that, and that's all it needs to be said. We don't need to talk for 10 minutes. Just cut to the bullet points and do the flashes with the black and white NWO to make it look like it's really backstage. Us just shooting this with this small handheld camera instead of having this big old set and crew. Because there was just supposed to be 3 guys being sent down here to take over. We're not going to be able to run the trucks. We're not going to be able to run the cameramen. It's just not the way that it's going to be. But these guys really did run the business. They're 5 of the biggest names that have ever been out there. I understand if you want to debate about 1, 2, 3 Kid and you want to debate about X-Pac, but I can name you matches that were really good. Almost every match of 1, 2, 3 Kid going up against Razor Ramon, 1, 2, 3 Kid versus Bret Hart, which I believe is on an episode of Wrestling Challenge or Wrestling Superstars. It was when Bret became champion and they actually had him defending the WWF Championship on the show. He had a really great match against Virgil as well. But definitely, if you go back and you watch that, the sort of era when In Your House was first coming out, I mean, definitely you have the dudes with attitudes. You have, Shawn versus Diesel. You have Diesel and Shawn as a tag team. You've got, Shawn versus Razor. You've got Diesel versus Razor. Just about any combination. Even the WWF Raw set, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I can't remember the exact name is of it, but they have a ton of great matches on there. From that, the best of Monday Night Raw. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but very, very good stuff. Make sure you get on over to Amazon. Make sure you get on over to Best Buy. Anywhere that you can pick this up. This is the DVD that you're going to want as a part of your collection to watch this documentary, plus to have the assortment of matches that are going to go along with it. So the KLIQ Rules tomorrow, it's going to be a big one. Peace out, everybody.